Welcome to Leaders' Questions.
So, Taoiseach, another day and another revelation of government waste of public money. Over the weekend, it emerged that in 2017, the National Gallery purchased a scanner at a cost to the taxpayer of nearly €125,000. The scanner, as you know, has never been used because a suitable room couldn't be found to accommodate it. So this equipment that cost the people €125,000 has sat idle for 8 years. Of course, this wasn't a once-off. You'll recall, I'm sure, that in 2018 the government purchased a printer for the Oireachtas to the tune of €800,000. And that printer lay idle for 10 months because it couldn't fit into the building. Eventually, a further €230,000 of public money had to be spent on works to the building to get the equipment in. What are people to make of all of this, Taoiseach? Government waste of public money is not a recent phenomenon, far from it. A government culture of waste and incompetence is deep-rooted. It's been going on for a very long time. We hear infuriating example of taxpayers' money squandered and nothing done about it. It's revelation of waste after revelation of waste. The public might well ask, what's coming next and where does all of this end? This week, it's the scanner that hasn't been used. Add to that the €366,000 bike shed, the €1.4 million security hut, €9 million for phone pouches, nearly €500,000 on a perimeter wall. The list of government scandalous waste of public money is as long as your arm, and yet no one, not a single person, has been held to account. In this government culture of waste and incompetence, it seems nobody is responsible. Taoiseach, where is the proper government oversight of how public money is spent? Where are the checks and balances and reporting within public procurement processes for which government is responsible? How is this allowed to happen time and time again? Government can feign anger. You can say that this has nothing to do with you. You can blame the National Gallery. You can point the finger at anybody and everybody under the sun for the most expensive bike shed, security hut, perimeter wall. But let's be clear, the buck stops with you, with government. You're in charge, and it's your responsibility to ensure that public money is spent wisely and properly, and, Taoiseach, to take corrective action when it's not. I think ordinary people see this for what it is. Government either knows about waste of public money and does nothing about it, or doesn't know at all and is grossly incompetent. Maybe it's a bit of both. Níl sa scanner €125,000 nar úsáideach riamh, a cabada leile is scéile fada an rialtas faoi cuireadh airgid an phobal. Ní féidir leanach do raig mar seo, agus tá chun tosacht ag tastáil. Taoiseach, the Taoiseach, it seems, is furious. You appear to be bewildered by the whole thing. But you, the government, must give an explanation for the serial wastage of public money. Can I ask you, Taoiseach, was this matter raised and discussed at Cabinet today? And what do you propose to do about this latest episode of scandalous waste?
Thank you, Deputy Taoiseach.
Well, I do sport a hochta, I think, the Galera gur institute on a hochtach on gallery náisiúnta. Agus buineann muinte na tíre an tanavas, agus tanavh as an institute seo. Agus I gcónaí caithfidh mé sin a chur san áireamh. Ach is an iaice ar fad is seo a hiiscint, chun is féidir leat scanner a chinach agus níl aon rud socrathe ribh ré maidir le úsáid an scanner. Níl sé sásúil in éair. Agus tá an aire chun bhachna bhíon a bhrein cheist go léir agus bháil an bhuic scoil an CNAG agus a foreign CAG is seo amach. Just want to say at the outset that the National Gallery is a very important national institution. People from across the country derive great joy and benefit from it. Hosts many treasures. But it is incomprehensible that they would have proceeded under a digitisation scheme to purchase a scanner and not have organised in advance how that scanner would be deployed in terms of a lead-lined room and so on. And that is not acceptable. Controller and Auditor General, is my understanding, has unearthed this. I think it should be examined fully by the Public Accounts Committee when we have that committee established. It simply isn't good enough. And the gallery has to answer for this, and those responsible have to answer for it. And since 1998, the National Gallery of Ireland has had an X-ray facility, so a film, a darkroom and wet processing facilities for researching the materials and techniques of its collection. And between 2012 and 2013, the old X-ray equipment, which was housed in a lead-lined room, was decommissioned in preparation for the NGI's Master Development Plan to accommodate major on-site changes and infrastructural works. The intention was always to reinstate the X-ray facility, but to move to a digital solution. And what happened here, of course, a scheme was developed, a cultural digitisation scheme. The NGI, National Gallery of Ireland, purchased a digital X-ray system, valued at 124,000, but quite clearly from the annual report hadn't worked out how it was going to deploy it and how it was going to locate it, and began discussions with the OPW after the purchase, looking at suitability of locations and something. It's completely unacceptable. People are right to be angry about it. And the Controller and Auditor General, as I say, had a key role in that. That said, I think it's also important that stories of this kind and events of this kind make people very irate, make people very angry. But we also have to take on board the fact that there's been a lot of good projects. It doesn't reflect the full picture of public expenditure on many, many worthy projects in this country. And one only has to look at the number of schools that we've built over the last number of years, reservoirs, waterworks. There's example after example where funding has come in on budget and on time. I've listed these school buildings before, from Edwin Rice College, Dublin, to Patrician Academy, Mallow, and so forth. The old Connacht Woodbrook Water Supply Scheme, Windmill Hill Reservoir, Kilkenny City Regional Water Supply Project, all good projects delivered well and in the interests of people. Fitzgibbon Street Garda Station, for example, in the Justice area, fit for purpose accommodation. Walter Scott House, which will accommodate up to 900 Garda personnel from the Garda National Bureau of Criminal Investigation, and then all the various roads from Castle Baldwin right to Listowel. So there's an overall picture here, but the House in general needs to focus on the specific, yes.
Taoiseach, your time is up. Thank you. Deputy McDonald, please.
Yes, well, let's do that then, will we? Because if you're citing Fitzgibbon Street Garda Station as an example of efficiency and delivery, I'm afraid you've chosen a bad example. That took years and years and years to be delivered. I resisted it's in my constituency. I resisted in my opening remarks citing the Children's Hospital, but I now feel moved to do so. Because that, you see, is the example of the type of incompetence and waste that we've seen writ large. But it has its foundations, I believe, in a government culture of utter disregard for public money. And that's reflected, Taoiseach, if I might say so, in the response that you've given to me. You've said all of this is incomprehensible, it's not acceptable, it's not good enough, and then somebody else has to answer for it. I value the National Gallery and they have to do their job and give their account. But you're the Taoiseach.
Thank you.
I asked, was this matter raised at Cabinet?
Thank you,
I want to know what you as Taoiseach and what the government is going to do about this instance and other instances of waste.
Taoiseach, please.
I shouldn't say this, but to be fair, members of your movement have always valued art down through the years in different ways. I appreciate your close scrutiny on the National Gallery, but could I also say that the politicians in this House cannot be responsible, I genuinely say this, for how individual agencies or the gallery or an arts centre procure and deliver. We create boards. Boards are established by legislation. There is responsibilities here on those who decide on these things. That's just generally said. But we politically also, and you say let's have the debate. I mean, I can remember it was a Deputy Osnodic, 50,000 of toner cartridges. That showed a tremendous focus on value for money, didn't it? 50,000 euros worth of cartridges. That's expenditure in this House. So before you throw stones, it's 120 here, wrong. It's 120, it's crazy. You should never buy a scanner. No, the other point I would make is this.
Now, well, your
Today
point
I'm
time is
publishing
up, Taoiseach. We
a
move to
report.
Deputy Ivana Batrick of the Labour Party.
the
Deputy
Project
Ivana,
Eagle.
Taoiseach,
How
your
much?
time is up. Thank you. Deputy Ivana Batrick.
7 million? No, because
Deputy.
you'll be in hot and heavy for the next
Taoiseach.
inquiry.
Thank
which
you,
will cost us another
Taoiseach.
tenner.
Deputy Ivana Batrick.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.